What's going on, crypto people? Michael Marchese is in the building. What's going on, brother? Trimming bushes for feet. I hear you. Got to get it in. Boom, boom. Let's go. Jeremy Hogan confirms it. The possibilities. Marco Leone is in the building. How you doing, my guy? Appreciate you being here. Oh, okay. I'll check my email, bro. Hey, what is going on, crypto people? It is the CryptoCeej with another day in the life and the crazy life. That is the digital asset space. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Jeremy Hogan confirms the possibility. We're going to get into what a really, really interesting Twitter Spaces last night. Very, very interesting Twitter Spaces held by was it Speaker Spotlight? I think they call themselves. I think it's Speaker Spotlight. Yeah, Speak Spotlight. And it's a group of XRP holders, Joe Schmoor, and some other people there, Tony, Fat Tony, and it's a group of guys. And it was very, very interesting. Patrick Riley was on there as a speaker. Matt Hamilton was on as a speaker and just continued to embarrass himself. Bob Way was on as a speaker. Somebody named XRP, I don't know who XRP is, was a speaker as well. But it was very, 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 very interesting, very informative for sure. Very, very, very informative. It was great to, I think I missed Molly speaking. Molly Elmore came on, but I didn't hear what she had to say. I had to go take care of some stuff, so I didn't hear what she had to say. But we're going to go over a video she did yesterday about fair market value. Again, another thing that Matt Hamilton was completely wrong about. Jeremy Hogan, for me, kind of confirmed the whole deal, even though Joe Schmo in the first 5-10 minutes said exactly the same thing that Jeremy Hogan said. The difference is that Jeremy Hogan had experience, firsthand experience of what the governments are capable and possible to do. He has firsthand experience, where Joe didn't have the experience, but he had the knowledge about what is possible in terms of the Fifth Amendment and something called the taking. Okay, so we're going to get into that. We're going to cover some more stuff, but I was so happy to hear Jeremy Hogan get on the spaces. He was invited. He got on. He talked a couple of times, and he got off. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through the spaces. We're going to run. We're going to run through the spaces and talk about that, kind of go through it bit by bit. Hopefully we can find Jeremy Hogan's part. We'll go through that together. So really, really excited about the Flair launch. Marco Leon, were you on Celsius with your XRP buyback? I mean, with your XRP for the snapshot? Can't speak this morning. Audie Bryan, what's good, my guy? Good to see you. Happy New Year, CJ. If that buyback happens, we can see a minimum 5,000 XRP. I hear you. It's the possibilities. Passionate Rick, hello from Mexico. What's going on, Passionate Rick? Appreciate you checking in, my friend. So we're going to go over that, but it was really, really good. And again, it was a good conversation. The only one who was who spoke with a tone of belittlement was Matt Hamilton. The only one who spoke with a tone that you guys are beneath me is Matt Hamilton. The only guy who spoke with you guys, I'm a XRPL contributor. Don't you know? I know everything. The only one who came across in that spaces is everyone was beneath them was Matt Hamilton. He was the only one. Not Jeremy Hogan, an experienced attorney for I don't know how long. He didn't speak in that tone or manner. Not the people hosting didn't speak in that tone or manner. It was only Matt Hamilton. Only Matt Hamilton. For 3 hours plus. It was only him. He was the only one who had this, no, you guys are beneath me. He was the only one. Again, his tone, not his knowledge, his tone. But in the spaces, he was wrong about two things. He was wrong about fair market value, and he was wrong about the capabilities of a government. Wrong. Dead flat wrong about it because it's actually happened. And so we'll cover that stuff as well. But would he admit that he was wrong? No. We're going to go through the spaces. It was for me, it was I would apologize on behalf of Matt Hamilton because it was embarrassing, like really, really embarrassing, right? And, just because you know how to code doesn't mean that you know everything else. And I said it in my video yesterday that I put out. You definitely want to check that thing out because, I'm not one to go in on someone in the community, but Matt deserved it. Deserved it big time. So look, we're going to go with the market because the market is doing what the market does. Flair Network, the Flair launch was something. It was something. Went on without a hitch from what I understand. And in typical fashion, look, people are hurting right now. People are hurting. So, yeah, they're going to get rid of this Flair. Some people, those who want a position to hold and for the longer term will hold. Those who are not in a position to hold the Flair token and need some cash now, they're going to sell. I mean, what do you expect? And then you got those who don't believe at all. We just want to get the free cash and move on. You got to let them go. You got to let them go. That's what Hugo understands. Hugo and the team at Flair, they understand that. They understand that. That's why I said David Schwartz was wrong. Was wrong about the freaking the airdrop and the incentives and people. You can't try to keep people in. Wrong. He admitted that he's tried every single thing and nothing worked. in the part that's you know that you want to emphasize, nothing works because people are people, and they're going to be people who got to get rid of a thing, and there's going to be people who are going to hold on to a thing. You have to, in my humble opinion, base your model around those who are staying, around those who choose to participate. You can't build around a model around those who are going to leave anyway. How does that make any sense? Yeah, I'm going to build this model around those who are going to just leave and cash out. You got to build a model around those who are going to stay. That's what the distribution thing was about. And we still got a proposal that we don't even know how the other 85% is going to happen. But I'm not building a model around people who are here for the cash and they're out. Why would you do that? Why would you put that together? You got to build it for those who will stay. And you got to do your best. No one's figured it out yet. No one's figured out a way for an airdrop token not to plummet. But the ultimate deal is, why are you here? Right? If you don't have this time horizon, right? I forget what Safadine calls it, but it's in the Bitcoin standard. It's essentially, if you don't have this ability, back in the day when I was building the business, they used to call it gratification, right? Delayed gratification, right? So if you don't have a delayed gratification mindset or outlook for stuff, then you're just all you think about is the now. All you think about is the now. Flair Networks and what Hugo is looking to do, it's for people who get 3, 5, 10 years from now. That's what it's about. You know, this whole, you know, Bitcoin millionaires in 90 seconds and 90 days thing, look, that's over. For the most part, that is over. For the most part, this is, and maybe in a lot of ways, that's what we need for that kind of stuff to be over. And you know, incentivizing participation, encouraging participation, actively being part of a community, literally taking some time to vote on a thing, literally taking some time to risk manage your assets and participate in a thing. It makes for a viable project. It makes for a viable project. You can't build your stuff based on the 1-2% of people who are here just for quick cash, looking to, you know, just get this token at half a penny, and then when it 5x, they're out. Can't build your model around that, but you got to understand those are going to be around. Those are going to be around. You got to build a model around people who understand passive income and who really get that. That's where it's at. It's really about having your money work for you. It's really about having your assets work for you, in my humble opinion. So, and that's what Flair is doing, in my opinion. Billionaire Eights, what's going on, my guy? Good to see you. Darcy, what's good, bro? Rodwell is in the building. Appreciate you guys being here. Do me a favor, guys, hit that like button if you haven't done so already. We always like to have just as many likes during the stream as we have people in the channel. And if you're just hanging out, yeah, feel free to check in and say, hey, how's it going? Let me know where you're checking in from. And if you're watching and haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider subscribing to the channel. Who here was in the Twitter spaces? I thought I saw somebody saying that. Marco, are you saying that what's his name? Matt Hamilton runs the automated market makers for Aquarium and Solo. Is he working with them now? Is that what you're saying? Toby Uchiha. Yeah. Good morning. Digital Functions in the building. What's good? Rodwell checking in from BK, my stomping ground. Born and bred, bro. Something like that, Dano. Yeah. And I mean, that's possible. That hasn't passed yet. Dano says, did Jungle say buying their 15% will receive their 85%? If that passes, it's a proposal right now. People got to vote on it. I think the vote happens, or the proposal actually gets put out once 66% of the Flair's distributed. So I guess that vote is out now, because I think the whole Flair distribution thing is gone. David is checking in from England. My goodness. Appreciate you checking in, David. Florida's in the building. So I really want to go over that. So how many of you guys, let me know in the chat, how many of you guys were on the Spaces last night? What's going on, Pookie? Life is good. My God, life is good. How many of you guys were on this Twitter Spaces here? Let me see. I really do want to get into it. Appreciate you guys checking in, because it was a very, very interesting Twitter Spaces. And I'm glad they ran it, but Matt was just embarrassing himself. Lemire Lassen says, just got on and so happy people sold Flair. Yeah. I missed the buy at 2 cents. I missed it. I missed that buy at 2 cents. Man, I missed it. It's at 4 cents now. But this Twitter Spaces was very, very interesting for me. Again, guys, for you guys just checking in. So Jeremy Hogan got on. So glad that he got on. Patrick Riley, God bless him. God bless Patrick Riley. He's the CEO of Reaper Finance. He's part of the committee, one of the quote unquote committees over there. You know, he did his best to put up with the arrogant, pompous attitude that Matt Hamilton had. He did a really good job with that. Oh, you know what? Let me share the stream. Let people know. All right, let me find that. So that is out to be shared. There it is. You can see the speaker. I think the speaker, it's Speak Spotlight. I'm not sure who he is. My understanding is Fat Tony kind of supports or started the Speak Spotlight. This is Josh Shemore guy here. I don't know who the co-host was. Patrick here is the CEO of Reaper Finance. And you can see Bob Way was on there. At one time, I saw Crypto Eddie. I saw Blockchain Backer on there as well. My guy, Rasheen B. Wealthy was on there. Appreciate you, my guy. So it's just some very, very interesting stuff here. And so I'm going to play little bits and pieces for you guys to kind of give you a reference point. And hopefully together we can find where Jeremy Hogan gets in. Because ultimately, and I'm just going to say this from the beginning for you guys, if there's anyone who thinks that a government, I'll just say that, we know which government we're talking about, right? But If anyone thinks that a government is not possible or capable to do a thing, that it's not possible for a government to do something that does not benefit the people that it governs, is naive. I spent 3+ decades, both in the military and as a civilian, with a top secret clearance. If anyone thinks that a government is not possible, or a government is not capable, or it's not possible for a government to do something that is not in the best interest of the people that it serves, is naive. Just, I love you. I'm glad you're checking in. I appreciate you being here, but naive. You have no idea what a government is capable of doing to its people. No idea. Like, no. If you think, well, I heard people on this Twitter space, it's like, the government, why would the government, they wouldn't, they wouldn't just take something from its people. They wouldn't just take it. They'd have to pass laws to be able to take it. I mean, there's the Constitution, and I mean, naive. I'm telling you, naive if you think that. You got to read. First of all, I lived it. Second of all, you got to read. You got to read what has happened. You know, a lot of the times this stuff is about how people feel. It's not what they know. It's just they feel like the government won't do it. It's a feeling. It's not something that they know. But anyway, let's kind of go through some stuff here.
Just hold on. I know Matt Hamilton said he'll be here about half an hour in, but I know there's other people that's supposed to come up, like T's Cryptos and Baggins and anybody else who wants to come up. Just raise your hand, and I'm sure the host will get you up here.
Hey, do you want to be the co-host, or you just want to be a regular speaker?
I mean, you could make me a co-host just so I could add the people up here, or I don't know. Yeah.
All right.
All right, so I'm co-host. So anybody wants to get up here, more than welcome to get up here and speak your speak. Let us know where you stand with this whole buyback. Any questions you got?
Yeah.
I'll give my input and what I think about it.
So and I raised my hand here, but apparently they didn't take questions from people towards the very end, like, so maybe like the last 20, 30 minutes of this 3.5-hour deal. So I was not able to get in there because I really wanted to address Matt Hamilton directly. But unfortunately, I was not able to do that. Let me play the rest of this.
And where I think we're at and the whole reason of it all. But it's really hard for me to come out and say anything without a question. I don't know what you guys want to hear. I know a couple people agreed to come up, but they still not here yet. But give them time. Maybe, you know, people step away from their phones for a minute. I personally think what I'm in the disagreements is a lot of name calling, a lot of disrespect. I partake in that too. I shouldn't have called Matt Hamilton old fart and shit like that. I shouldn't have told him to fuck off, although that's how I felt. But there was just some things that I felt was antagonizing and wasn't really trying to get to any kind of understanding, in my opinion. Because Molly was trying to explain to him and kept dancing around it. And it's like, dude, like she's giving you the answer. I mean, and then when he said he's not a U.S.,
I agree.
citizen
I
or
agree.
doesn't
He was
reside in the U.S.
disrespectful.
and
Matt
none of that
Hamilton.
affects him, the big light bulb is like, oh, okay, I understand why. You know what I mean? Oh, there's Baggers. Let me send him an invite. Get up here. So yeah, so that's what really pissed me off. The whole misunderstanding of trying to understand.
Well, hopefully with all this, there'll be some clarification on what's going on.
Yeah, like, listen, I've said it before. Like, we are all speculators. No one knows exactly what's going to happen. No one knows. But if you look at the current facts that are available, you can make your best educated guess on what the possibilities are. And I think people in general, you know, hate to accept the fact that that is a possibility. It's a possibility of a buyback. Will it happen? No. Baggins has sent me an article a while back, and I think Wolf Messaging as well also posted something on why the buyback of XRP wouldn't be possible. Agreed and understood. But now, when you knock someone for even trying to prepare themselves for anything is possible. Like, I could get jacked right now where I'm at. You never know. Anything.
And again, for me, I just want to go over that this possible thing. Like, I know we covered this on the stream before, but for someone to say that it's not possible, it's beyond understanding. That anything is possible. Like, anything is possible. Like, the whole earth was flat thing. That went on for decades. The whole idea of traveling around the globe was impossible until it was possible. The 4-minute mile was impossible until it became possible. Like, to say it's impossible is just, what are you talking about? Of course it's possible. Of course it's possible. Hey, Ceej, did you see Aries tweet, Crypto Aries tweet? I did not, RC. I'll check into it. I'll look at it. Toby says, when will it be airdrop? It was airdrop last night, my friend. Digital Spunkster says, just got some Flair at 4 cents. Thanks to all who sold, and it will go lower once the exchanges deliver the airdrop. Hello all from Thailand. I'm thinking that's hello all. What's going on, Digital Function? Checking in from Thailand. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, it's going to go lower. That's right. There you go, D. Just breaking out the scripture, my God. Proverbs 16:18. Pride is before a crash and a haughty spirit before stumbling. 100%. Work Until I Moon says, I watched the Twitter Spaces, but not the whole thing. Miss what Jeremy Hogan said. We're going to go over it because I think it's important. You haven't received any. Did you do yours on the ledger, Toby? Toby says, I haven't received any as of yet. Did you do yours on the ledger, my friend Toby? Raymond Scott was good. Raymond, where are you checking it from, Raymond? And D says half court shots was impossible before Steph Curry. Like, the whole idea that it's not possible is insane to me. And the whole idea is this whole notion of thinking what a government won't do to its people is, I don't even know how. Like, it's immature. It's completely naive. Like, read the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Read both books, so they'll help you get it. Read The Pirates of Manhattan. Like, what? How do you think that a government is not possible to do a thing? Toby, I got you, my friend. Where was your XRP on December 12th of 2020? On the ledger or on Uphold? We got to help Toby out here, make sure that he gets his is that Toby? I'm hoping I'm saying it's he. I'm hoping you're a guy. Toby. Make sure he figures out how to get his Flair. So, I mean, to me, just say, like, it's not possible, and why would the government do a thing? Here's the thing that I will say to people. It's not why. You're not going to understand the why. It's not on, it was only on Ledger. Okay. So there's a couple of things that you have to do if it was on Ledger. I'm going to share a link. I don't know if this will help you, but I'll share a link that Darren Moore, that dude, XRP Darren, shared, that will possibly help you, my friend. Let's get that for you. Hopefully this will help you. And if anyone else had theirs on a ledger and they had to do something to get their Flair, can you help Toby out? Where is that? Here it is here. I'm going to put both of these on here for you. What the freak, man? I don't know why my laptop does this. This is one thing you need. Oh, let me do this. Let me see this. If you use the ETH key on Ledger, which you had to, you got bridge the ledger to MetaMask, which is basically you got to have a ledger account on MetaMask. Verify that the ETH address is exactly the same as the Flair address. XRP scan lists the Flair address. If yes, add the Flair network. Okay, so this is one part. Let me put this in the chat. This is one part. You're welcome, Toby. Let me put the other part in here that you're going to need. This is what you're going to need to add the Flair network to your MetaMask, Toby. All right, there it is. There it is. Let me know if you have some questions, Toby. All right, so let's just go on some more. Again, shout out to Patrick Riley from Reaper, who had patience and wherewithal to deal with the madness and the belittling tone and beneath me tone of Matt Hamilton. Shout out to Patrick for being able to deal with that. Let's continue listening.
I think it's possible. Will it happen? No. Will they be successful if they try? No. But it's possible. You know what I'm saying? Baggers, what's going on, Baggers?
How you doing, Brooklyn?
Listen, I just want to let you know, I appreciate everything you bring to this community. I appreciate it 100%. A lot of the things that you say are not wrong because you understand the technical side of things. But I feel as though, like, just because the technical side of things makes sense does not mean you discredit the other side of things. So like, for example, like, we was going back and forth in the group chat. It's like there's these laws in place that, you know, that show that there could possibly be a potential buyback. You know, will it be successful? No, I'm in agreement with you. I don't think they'll be successful at it. I don't. But is it possible? Yes. And, you know, that's where I stand with everything. You know, I know Matt Hamilton thing was, I even forgot because there's been so much back and forth today, but I forgot what he was trying to ask, honestly. But the buyback is possible. You know, I don't know. I don't know if what you want to say in your opening statement, but that's just where I stand.
I love compliments
I just want to let you know
end with a but, because a lot of people, what they want to do is smooth it over and establish that you could be wrong. First of all, nobody's perfect. Anybody can be wrong. And this has nothing to do with technical. This conversation we're going to have, there's a little bit, but for the most part, it's really, to me, going to be about logistics and jurisdictional kind of stuff. So, and I actually signed on with a different account. So I actually heard you open up the beginning of the conversation about some of the disrespect stuff, and I appreciate that comment because I do feel like, you know, we're kind of airing the room out for a second. I do feel like you were really disrespectful to Matt. I don't think you understand necessarily who he is and what he represents. He is an XRPL legend, and he has probably developed a lot of high-level important code for the XRP ledger that nobody understands. So he deserves respect, straight up. So I'm glad that, you know, we're going to keep the conversation.
Here, well, I'll say this. If you want respect, why don't you try showing something, Matt Hamilton? Why don't you try showing some respect? That's what I'll say. You don't deserve respect. You earn respect. Why? Because you code on a ledger? It's okay. It's cool for you to talk to people and belittle people? Yeah, I don't think so. But anyway.
Civil today on all the accounts. And if anybody out there starts to get disrespectful, you know, we can just mute them, try to keep things civil. So that said, I do not agree with you that it's a possibility. I don't agree with you at all. I don't think it's within the realm of possibility, simply because for the US to take ownership of an asset, it has to be something that is within the US jurisdiction.
Listen to this. It's important.
Okay. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it can happen.
I get that, but let me open up this article here because I was clicking on a lot of things. There's that Article 5, right? I mean, not Article 5, Fifth Amendment, right? And this is what I want people to understand. On the Fifth Amendment, there's a section called takings. And it says, for those of you guys that are listening, it says a taking is when the government seizes private property for public use. Private property for public use. And a taking can come in two forms. The taking may be physical, which means the government will literally take the property from its owner, or the taking may be constructive, also called a regulatory taking, which means that the government restricts the owner's rights so much that the governmental action becomes the functional equivalent of a physical seizure. So, like I know you may think it's not possible, but just like Bitcoin mining, it's like people say, well, you can't do that because I mine and they won't know that I mine. It's like, well, they can make it physically impossible for you to off-ramp it. So then what are you left with? It's like, okay, they may not take it from you, but they can make it physically impossible for you to off-ramp it. You'll have no choice but to move to another country. And this is what I'm saying. This is in the US. It's not no other country. It's just in the US. So that's what I'm saying. When you say it's impossible for them to take it from you, it's like, okay, they can't take it from you. And I've agreed with you. They can't physically take it from you, but they can make it so difficult that you will never, it'll be impossible for you to off-ramp it and use it.
Oh, there's always a solution for that. I mean, all you need is a VPN and basically some stable coin in a few different exchanges to route through and you're done. I mean, that's not even a hard problem to solve, to be honest.
Yeah, but now you're put in a position where you're committing fraud and treason, based on the regulations that are proposed,
Well,
right?
treason, I don't think it's going to be treason. There's a very specific definition for treason.
You're right.
And selling an unregulated asset is certainly not going to be treason. Fraud, on the other hand, would be something where you're selling a good of rights or you're selling an idea to somebody which actually has no bearing. That's like an FTX thing. So I wouldn't be actually committing any of those things if we're being specific.
But it would be unlawful.
Yeah, maybe. They would have to pass a law to do that first. So there's a lot of steps in between. What you're talking about, the end state, there's a whole bunch of in-between steps that have to happen in order for us to get there. Oh, we need to bring up Patrick Riley as a speaker. 100%.
Definitely. Hold on,
working on it.
Thank you.
Oh shit. Yo, Tony, you removed me as a co-host. I think I left or something.
I don't know what you did.
All right, send me the invite for a co-host again. There we go. So I can get Patrick up here.
Yeah, he's the Real Reaper CEO and also former member of our military. So just want to publicly say, Patrick, thank you for your service. Really appreciate everything you've done for our country.
Yeah, Patrick, I sent you an invite to come up. But in the meantime, before he joins, I guess you just want to listen in. Yeah, that's where I stand. Like, it's like there's so many complications that they will put. They're not the everyday regular person. Like, to be honest with you, I want to say a good. I'm gonna be humble and say 40% of crypto Twitter. Hey, Patrick.
Hey, thank you for the warm invite. I appreciate it, gentlemen.
No problem.
No, thank you for taking your time and coming up and having this.
Yeah, Patrick, and listen to, again, I want you to kind of recognize the cordial aura of the talk right now. And notice how it changes when Matt, everyone is beneath me, Hamilton gets on. Notice how it changes when Matt, everyone is beneath me gets on. You'll notice the difference in the room, for sure. But Patrick is going to get ready to speak. He's the CEO. Oh, Toby, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the super chat, my guy. I appreciate that. Always here to help, my friend. But you'll notice the tone. I was just tweeting because Matt Hamilton was really, really, what's the word I want to use? Belittling. He's very, very demeaning towards Crypto Lulu, right? A content creator in this space. Very, very demeaning towards him because of his. He didn't have to publicly disclose it, but he did. He didn't know that there was a difference between Ripple Labs and XRP Labs. And, Matt just went in on him because of that. And how could he be? Basically, for me, Matt Hamilton is like, how are these people on this committee? And I was never asked, to be honest. That's the way he comes across to me. You guys got to make your own determination. But that's the way he comes across to me. It's like, how could these people be on this special committee and no one asked me to be on the committee? Don't you know I'm a coder on the XRP labs? Don't you know who I am? That's the way it comes across to me. Anyway.
Discussion with us I think it's something that's well needed in the community.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of thought about this, and I just jumped into this room, so I don't know what all the talk has been.
This is Patrick, CEO of Reaper Finance. He's on the committee
so far, but yeah, there's just a lot of people hating on this confidential committee idea, and it's really just a lack of understanding what's at the root of it.
I'll skip the conversation for you, Patrick. We only did a little bit of introductions. We talked about some offline discussion that Joe and I were having in a previous chat. We also talked about some back and forth that happened between Matt and Joe, which led to the creation of the space. And currently, what's really going to probably happen for now until at least when Matt gets here, because I know he's on another meeting, is the discussion on the possibility on whether the US government could actually buy back the asset. That's one issue on the table. And the second issue is really, I think, underneath kind of what you talked about is, what is the whole idea behind the buyback and the idea of fair market value, right? And I know you have a thing about that. Molly Errolmore dropped a video. I actually watched that today. I encourage everybody to go watch that. And I think Digital Perspective did that. So those are the issues on the table right now. Joe, do you have anything to add to that?
No, man, you hit the nail on the head. I'm obviously an advocate, and I believe that there could be a possible buyback because of the current laws that we have in place, like the Fifth Amendment and the takings in the Fifth Amendment, which I just went over with everybody, and I stand strong in saying that even if they can't buy it back, there is a possibility that they block you from doing anything with the assets. So if they block you, if they block you from doing anything with the asset, what's the point of really holding it and not agreeing to a buyback?
Yeah, so definitely, and the Fifth Amendment definitely has the just compensation clause, as well as we have within the Fourth Amendment illegal search and seizure. We have other legal precedents such as Executive Order 6102, which was the confiscation of gold in 1933, in which it wasn't just a buyback; it was made illegal, right? And it was done through executive order. And what just about anybody today, if you were to actually read that order to them, they go, no, that's illegal. They can't do that. But it definitely happened.
And that's the thing again. I mean, I'll let Patrick speak. Just kind of understand that they made it illegal. So a government made it illegal. And again, it's not about why they did it. It doesn't matter why. Like, why does it matter why they did it? Like, a lot of people, are concerned that quote unquote, never mind, I'll cover that later. But like, why does it matter? The why doesn't matter. The fact is, they did it. And like I covered in my live stream a couple of days ago, right? I covered this a couple of days ago on my live stream. Mr. and Mrs. Baker, or Mr. and Mrs. Bakery in the 30s didn't think it was possible. Now, here's the thing. Do you think there was some rumors about that happening? You think it kind of got out that there was this possibility of a government taking their gold? What do you think? You think it got out somehow? You think somebody who was in the know told their neighbor or told their family member, when their family member told another family member who told their neighbor, and now it's out about this possibility? What do you think? And do you think there were conversations like, no, they wouldn't do that? This is a government. They wouldn't take something that doesn't belong to them. You think they had those conversations? It was impossible until it was possible. And also made illegal. So I don't get this whole thing of like, it ain't possible. And you know, they would have to do this and they would have to do that. There was a dude on here saying like they would have to do like 5 million gazillion things in order to do it. Okay, so what? They'll just do the 5 million gazillion things. Like, I mean, what do you think a government thing is about? Like, what do you think that's about? Like, seriously? What do you think that is about?
Yeah, and basically that's the root and the core of what we're doing here is that we don't trust the government to be upright and forthcoming with the American citizens about the value of the assets that it may or may not decide to either confiscate or determine are illegal. And if and it's a big if, and I don't think that XRP is going to or Ripple is going to lose this case, but if in the situation that Ripple loses this case, the United States government is going to come after XRP. And should that happen, they can only do that through making it illegal. And should they make it illegal, they have to give just compensation.
And that's really the gist of it. So I'm going to get into the chat right here. That's really the gist of it. If they lose, what do you think is going to happen to the XRP that retail has? If they lose. This is why I said in the live stream, it is Jimmy Valley is a warrior, and people are missing it because people don't understand. They live with their head in the sand. They live with this. They want to feel good about a government instead of knowing what a government is capable of doing. Right? So there's a saying, it is better to be a warrior in a garden than to be a gardener in a war. Jimmy Valley is a warrior. Right? And here's the thing. It is better to be prepared. It is better to be prepared and not have an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. Gamer for Life, what's good, my friend? Gamer for Life says national security executive order. All your crap belongs to us. Demetrius Carter, what's good, my guy? Where you checking in from, Demetrius? He says facts. I mean, come on. What you're really saying when you don't say it's not possible is what you're really saying is I don't want to feel like a government could take something of mine and says it belongs to them. You're saying what you feel. You're not talking about the no. You're not talking about the no because it's already happened. And not just in gold, for crying out loud. Not just in gold. What's going on, XRP Magnificent? Good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you checking in this one. It's possible. You know, and it is better to be prepared and not have an opportunity. It's better to be prepared for what is possible than to not be prepared and the impossible becomes possible. Just ask Mr. and Mrs. Bakery, who worked their whole lives running a business, had some money, chose an asset to invest with that money called gold, and had it taken away from them. What if they want to give that gold to their grandchildren? If that ability was taken away, they didn't have a choice. They weren't, right? The choice was not to do it or go to jail. Right? Yeah, I'm not sure if that will work, Cyborg. I lost my ledger. I'm not sure losing my ledger is going to be a sufficient answer when you come before the judge. Right? Because the government will put you before a judge after they let you out of the cell. That is a fact. That's a fact. That's what will happen, right? Right? That's a fact. And the other part of that is who's going to be your defense in that? Because if there's a government behind the thing, they have a way of making people pay for defending people who go against something that they want to have done. So the ledger ain't the answer, in my opinion. It's like, it's not. They could decide that you can't own a ledger. And right, they can, just all kind of stuff they could come up with. You know what I mean? They could come up with any rule or law, and Congress will pass it. And enforcement people will enforce it. Like, that's just the reality of a thing. All right, so I think I'm going to fast forward this Twitter Spaces to where Matt Hamilton joins in, and please pay special attention and take note of how the tone of the Twitter Spaces changes. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see if he's on here.
Like, you can go for days. I'm impressed. All right, we've got a couple of hands up. I think Joe and then Patrick. Joe.
Yeah, I just want to see, thanks for that. I just want to let everybody know, especially those who see, I'm a Joe Schmo. I'm a nobody. I've entered this space fully into this space about a year ago. I've done the best I can to learn and understand this technology, not being in the tech field. That does not mean I'm stupid. And when you have discussions of current events and possibilities of things happening, and you have major influencers like Matt Hamilton himself, who holds such high status in your eyes, and I say your eyes because I just heard about the guy last week. No disrespect, it's just the honest truth. I really didn't know who he was. When you have someone like that calling people delusional and crazy, it kind of makes you think. It puts a person like me in a position where it's like, all right, then, smart guy, spit it out. Tell me what it is that you, because I'm telling you what I see. And the fact that you challenge what I see without understanding what I'm really saying to you, it gets frustrating, because me, like many other listeners here, we came to Twitter to learn and interact with you guys firsthand. You know, I know Baggins and T, you guys know for a fact that when I don't know something, you two are the guys I run to, especially Baggins. When I don't understand something or I don't know something, I go to Baggins. But you know, to see people calling other people delusional when you hold such status, like T got on and T was like, well, listen, it's like this. I can see your side. We're all speculators, blah, blah. It's like, all right, that makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. And I say this not on just my behalf. There's a couple people like that I am close to, family, relatives, and you know, friends that I've actually introduced to the space, and they listen on to this. They feel the same way I feel, you know, and they want to understand and learn more. and
questions you had, Matt, you were asking is what is the value of this and what is the whole point? What is this really gaining us? So what I'm going to propose in terms of moving the conversation forward is, Matt, maybe you could, very briefly kind of talk about your perspective and just generally put out your question here. And since Patrick's part of the buyback committee, he can run you through what he just read us through, kind of summarize it for you, and maybe we can see how the conversation progresses.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds good. I mean, yeah. To start off with, and like you said, this may have already been covered. Sorry, I've been on a meeting for the last half hour. What is the contents of this buyback proposal? I've seen a number of videos in which you have, say, Jimmy Valley talking about some clauses within this proposal. Yet I've never seen an actual published version of this proposal, and it seems to change weekly. So can somebody give me a quick executive summary of what exactly is in this current proposal? Let's start there.
All right, so I'll start by saying I wasn't part of the first proposal that was put out on Valdo Capital. Now I know that one did include specific numbers, and I don't know the exact motivations that were behind that. I do have a copy of the first proposal, though I haven't made it all the way through myself. As far as the current proposal, we just convened in late December, so we are building it. We're planning on having it done towards the end of January and hopefully published by February.
Right, but in one of the videos, I was pointed to by somebody, and Jimmy Valley in this video was like a week old, was saying that one of the, I can't remember the word he used, clauses, within the proposal, he was talking about with his buyback. So that implies that there is a proposal. So the new version has been written, correct?
It is not written yet. There's a general outline and a concept, but we have not completed. The valuation subcommittee that I am a part of is still very much in the conceptualization phase. So to my knowledge, nothing is cemented for this current proposal.
Okay, so Valley's talking about what some of the clauses are in this proposal. So can you give me a rundown, as if it's not finalized, at least what is the basic outline of this proposal? What is it?
Now, remember, take note of the fact that it's been agreed upon that it's not finalized yet, right? It's not finalized yet. Both have agreed it's not finalized. And so Matt is asking, well, kind of tell me some, roughly some stuff that is kind of in there yet. I understand that it's not finalized yet. Some things may be added, some things may be taken out, right? It's not finalized yet.
The basic outline is this. So if, and it's a big if, Ripple were to lose this case in SEC versus Ripple Labs, then the assumption is that the United States is going to either declare XRP as a security or declare it illegal. And under either of those conditions, they may make it so that certain citizens of the United States can no longer hold this digital asset because it is either a security or it is an illegal asset. Under that circumstance, there is legal precedence in the United States for them to do a seizure or a buyback under the just compensation clause of the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. They've done something previously with Veritasium, but a more accurate comparison would be Executive Order 6102 in 1933, where they did the forced gold buyback and it was made illegal to own and possess gold. People would be sent to prison for not turning it in. So basically, if we hit that scenario where suddenly we are being forced to give up our XRP, then we need to make it so difficult for the government under the Fifth Amendment and the Just Compensation Clause that it is easier for them to allow us to continue to possess our XRP than it is for them to pay us the fair market value. So finding what that fair market value is obviously a big hurdle. Is it, $10, $100, 100,000? I don't like to put a number on it. Personally, I like to relate it to value because I think the dollar is dead and dying. However, we want to make it so that basically we are protecting the XRP holder so that they can't come and confiscate it by force.
Okay, right. So that, I mean, that all sounds fairly, good in theory. And I appreciate that people say, okay, we want to protect an asset in case it, or protect people's, holdings in case it is deemed a security. Okay, so I agree with the general concept of what is trying to happen. Now, like you said, there's been a couple of comparisons and precedents. So Veritasium was an ICO, and the result of that was that there was, I can't remember how much they raised, something like 8 million or 15 million, something in that order of magnitude. And as a result of it being deemed a securities offering or whatever was deemed,
So I'm just trying to understand, and I didn't hear him say this, but if he says, okay, I agree with that, and I understand that, why is this discussion? That's what he just said, right? Am I missing something? Or did Matt Hamilton just say, okay, I agree with that. I understand how you want to kind of protect your assets if the SEC says it's a security, right? John Stoops, what's good, bro? Good to see you, right? So I understand that, right? So if he understands, I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing him say it. So if you understand, why do we have a 3.5 hour discussion? Because remember, this whole Twitter Spaces came about because Joe Schmo and Matt Hamilton were going at it on Twitter, right? Matt Hamilton's calling people delusional, and it says it's all nonsense. Before this, a few days before, he called the people, part of this committee, people on this committee, grifters and scammers. Those were his words. He called them grifters and scammers. Right? So if he understands that basic premise, why is there a 3-hour Twitter Spaces about it? If you understand it, you understand it. Why you keep going on Twitter like, I don't understand this whole thing. He said it so many times. It's nonsense. It makes no sense. And that's the worst part. He keeps saying that it makes no sense. But here in the Spaces, he says, I understand it. I'm confused by that, Matt Hamilton. I'm confused. Either you understand the basic premise of it or you don't. You said it makes no sense. That's what you said. Those are two different things. Making no sense, and I understand, right? It in this Twitter, those are two different positions that you're now taking. Which one is it? Anyone else? Anyone agree or disagree with that? In South Africa, you can hold security, Cyborg? Oh, nice. Isn't that something? Yeah, in this country, right? You gotta pass test it. You gotta meet these standards, right? 95% of the people are not in that security space. Northeast Whitewater says, agree. Good to see Northeast Whitewater. Northeast Whitewater says, government does it all the time with property, all the time, via eminent domain. One recent disaster was New London, Connecticut, about 20 years ago. Right, Cyborg says, yes, right. So he's like, he's taken he just said, I understand it. I'm baffled, but let's continue to listen to his tone. Hello from the UK. What's going on, Ian? Appreciate you checking in. Guys, do me a favor, if you haven't already, hit that like button.
Inappropriate with regards to it. Veritasium was ordered to basically make the investors whole and basically return that money back. So whatever it was they raised, you know, $8 million or $15 million, whatever it was, they then paid that back, or whatever they had left of that, back to the ICO holders. So that was a fairly clear thing, right? Investors, certain amount, investors were returned a certain amount, or you know, as close as they could do with that, with what was left, right? So that's fine. The comparison with gold, I think, is very is more problematic, right? Because we're trying to make a comparison to a world in 1930 something, which is a very different world to which we are in now, right? The reason by which the US government bought the gold back notionally was because the US dollar was backed by gold. They were on the gold standard and they needed to issue more US dollars. So in order to issue more US dollars, they needed more gold. And so they made the private holding of gold illegal and then bought it back. I don't know the specifics in terms of whether it was, you know, whether, like you say, you were arrested if you still held it, or whether they just made you an offer and you had to, if you were selling it, you had to sell it back to them. I don't know the specifics. It's not particularly much of an issue in the grand scheme of things, in that the value of gold was whatever it was, $20-something at the time, and then the value went up because they continued to buy, so there's continued demand. So that after the gold buyback had happened, they market bought. There's speculation about, you know, whether that was done, whether it was market manipulation and the price at which it was determined, whatever it was. Roosevelt sat in his pajamas thinking up random numbers to buy back to try and reach a certain price. The end result was whatever it was, 30.
So I just want to jump in to clarify something. So they didn't drive up the demand for gold because gold was the basis of value for the US dollar. It was that they devalued the dollar by printing more, not that they drove up the value of gold.
Fair enough. Whichever way around it is, you went from $20 US or whatever it was to $35 US. So you've gone from a roughly a 50% price increase there, or 50% devaluation of the US dollar. Now, so two things. One, this is all based upon a tangible asset, gold, which in the 1930s, if I had some gold and I'm sat in some town in the middle of nowhere in the US, I can't suddenly sell that gold to a buyer in New York City, let alone London or Tokyo or whatever, right? So by that very nature, it was pretty ring-fenced as to who I could sell it to, both legally and physically within the laws of physics, as to where I can literally, I would have to physically take my gold to somewhere else to sell it, right? XRP is a global digital asset. If I want to sell my XRP, I can sell it to anybody in the world within 3 seconds, right? So it's a much more liquid asset. So I think the restrictions that might be put upon it make it are very different, right? And it's much harder for one regulatory regime to ring fence it so that I couldn't sell it, right? You
Right.
also to the point that, okay, this may have been the previous generation of the proposal, but there are values floating around of $35,000, $50,000. Now, some people are saying, well, that's not in the current proposal. I don't know whether the initial proposal has been completely scrapped, but there are people who are, I think you mentioned on some valuation committee. You made some comment on Twitter about, well, there's 100 billion XRP, and that's basically, you divide that by the total value of everything in the world, which is,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even believe you tweet.
So let me explain why that's not as crazy as it sounds.
Represented by XRP. I think that is a massive leap.
A massive leap. So one of the Schwartz guys said, right, all the money, right? The Schwartz guy said that. Now, all the money everything in the world? Or is all the money just the financial assets, right? So there's two different things. Is like, so is everything in the world books? Is that what we're talking about? Books? What about tomatoes? We're talking about tomatoes and books? Or are we talking about the money, right? When that young man did that video, and he's talking about, I think he said ILP. He didn't say the XRP. I'll allegedly said ILP. He said all the money. It's one of the Schwartz guys. I believe it was one of the. It wasn't Stephon Thomas, so it's one of the Schwartz guys. He said all the money. So that's what I understand this to be about: the money, not pens and pencils, not cow feed. Is there such thing as cow feed, right? So talking about the money, right? Finance stuff. That's my understanding. But Pat is going to try to explain this a little further.
I don't think it's bought to buy anything, right? I mean, not in your wildest dreams, right?
So I don't think it's a leap at all.
You know,
So let me explain.
Okay.
So right now, under the Bretton Woods Agreement from 1950s, the US dollar is the global reserve currency, but since 1971, it's been backed by nothing at all. It's just fiat, right? So backed by force. Now, the US dollar right now, we are $290 trillion in global debt, $94,000 of debt per US citizen born yesterday. A newborn baby is $94,000 in debt. For $78 trillion in a global pension deficit, which we are about to have the baby boomers all around the world retiring and finding out their pension funds are basically empty. Social Security in the United States empty by 2037. Student loans at 1.75 trillion, negative bond yield over 22 trillion.
yeah, so a lot of debt. Okay, we get that, right.
So much debt. Yeah, so the US dollar.
So did you hear his tone? Yeah. Okay, a lot of that. We get that. What's your point? Like, just pompous, just this pompous butthole. Period. Yeah, we get it. So it's a lot of debt. No, you don't get it, Matt. You don't get it. The US, this is US we're talking. The rest of the G7, all this debt stuff that he's talking about, Patrick is talking about here, in case the fam didn't know, that's the US situation. Well, guess what, guys? The G7 and the G20 nations are worse off than the US. Worse off. I highly suggest that you guys go check out a YouTube channel called Wealth Beyond and watch a video. Let me see if I can't find it. Let's see this. There's Molly trying to educate Matt on what is the true definition of fair market value, the difference between that and market value. Where is this video? I just watched it. Not the energy. There's this one right here. Let me get the link for you guys. I highly recommend you watch this video from beginning to end. Let me do this.
Ask you about. I'm glad you mentioned bonds, particularly U.S. sovereign bonds. We've had a lot of discussion on this channel
Let me put this link for you guys. So we got to level up. I highly recommend you guys watch this video. Wealthy on, subscribe to the channel. Right? We got to level up on XRP. We got to level up on digital assets. We got to level up in traditional financial world, the global macro picture. We got to know. And see, that's gamer for life. That is actually incorrect. It's incorrect. So they would be what is the word? They will be acting in fraud. It's fraud to do that. Right? Gamer for life says gamer for life. right? And I'm glad you said that, so because Jimmy Valley covered that. Now remember Jimmy Valley's background, right? Mergers and acquisition attorney, corporate securities attorney, some of the biggest mergers and acquisitions in the history of this country, Jimmy Valley was part of. He covered this right here. So Gamer for Life says, no, no, no. If government ordered today for XRP seizure, they will only pay what the market value at order is, which at the moment is 34 cents per XRP. He says, after they own the vast majority of it, then they will revalue it. And that Jimmy Valley covered that. That's something called fraud in the inducement. It's called fraud in the inducement. It's a legal term. So they won't be able to do that. And he introduces this concept in the interview that he did with Molly, which is Molly Elmer. Her YouTube channel is The Clever Hummingbird. So she covers that. She asked that question, and Jimmy does in fact cover that. Kyle T. Moore, good morning, C. So again, right, what Patrick Riley is explaining to him is kind of the why there's a possibility of such a thing. And so when he's going through all these debt situations, we all know the debt situations in the US, but you got to understand it's bad, it's terrible. And if you watch this, the link that I put in the description, it's terrible. The reason why they're talking about a reset is because it's terrible. The debt situation, the interest on the debt alone is unpayable. The interest on the debt alone is unpayable. The interest on the debt. And what a lot of people are missing, exactly, and it wasn't illegal back then, Gamer for Life. That's why the fraud and inducement came, because of what they did with gold. And they did that with gold. But now there is, in fact, fraud in the inducement. And it's something that can't be done. In terms of, there will be a legal recourse because there is an actual thing called fraud in the inducement. That doesn't mean the government can't do what they want to do, but you can make a legal argument against the thing, and it's called fraud in the inducement. Yeah, and so what he was saying was, you can't take something away from us, knowing full well that you are going to be at one price, knowing that full well you're going to revalue it and do it at another price, right? So in the 30s, they hoodwinked the people, hoodwinked them. And Jimmy, in that interview, goes over a recent case where that happened.